Oh, great. So, thank you so much for joining us today, Danielle, and welcome everyone to another episode of Boardroom to Startup. I'm so excited this week again because this is the second guest we're getting this week. And, it's just been back to back, but I've enjoyed the conversations that we've had. I met Danielle recently and she shared a lot about like experience and, how she has come to this particular point. I remember when we were talking, one of the things you said was like, you're sort of like a unicorn in this area of having a large corporate experience and then also coming into the startup world and then just managing stress. All three that I was like, oh wow, there's so much here that I need people
Yeah.
to hear. So I'm so excited to have you on today. Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you for having me, Lua. It's really a different kind of space when you're in the startup world, and it does take a different type of mindset as well. And so, having gone through corporate life, startup life, back to corporate life, now happily back in startup life, I think I definitely have some battle scars, but luckily things that I can bring forward and share so that others don't have to go through the same stresses.
Wow, thank you so much for doing this. So let's get right into it. How did you get here? Why are you talking about stress management? Why is it so important to you?
Well, that's good. How did I get here? Like that's a very good question. So for those who don't know me, I am a mother of two. I have two teenagers. I'm also a dog mom, so I'm like triple mom. And I have been, really blessed in the course of my career to have had a very strong business as a tech consultant when my children were in their early years, like almost infant all the way through um, into their early elementary years, and it was just an opportunity for me to be able to be very present, to have some flexibility, to work in a way that served my customers, but also allowed me to serve my family. And um, I did that, but there were so many layers of it that were invisible. There were so many things that you kind of just carried on your shoulders. You pushed through everything, you did it all. And it wasn't always exciting. It was kind of like you're doing this thing because you feel like you need to do this thing instead of doing this thing because you love to do this thing. And
Mm,
so that kind of continued to take its toll. And I started to question, is this really what my purpose is? Should I be out here in this way? Can I be with my kids and do the things I need to do if I was back in corporate life? And so I took a chance and I went back into the corporate world. And the stress
mm,
of that being its own thing was now, different demands, and you don't have as much flexibility. The kids are getting older, they actually
mm,
need different things from you. And it just kept piling on. I was exhausted. I was, I moved in the middle of the pandemic. I, just kept taking it all on, really seeking what could be the best life for me and my family
mm,
until one day it all just came crashing to a
mm,
stop. And I woke up one morning, I had my laptop in my lap. I was ready to get on a call with a global call, and I could not get the room to stop spinning. And I
wow.
woke up like that. And it was just like everything was a blur. And before I knew it, I was in the back of an ambulance.
My
And it
goodness.
was just pure exhaustion. It was pure hustle culture.
Hmm.
And it took me a good while to come back from that. And in that journey, as an engineer, being the nerd that I am and thinking through it methodically, I was like, how do I create a system that I never find myself back here again?
Mm, mm, mm. Wow, wow. Okay, so you were all the life, you were doing everything, balance life, family, work, startup, all of that. And then one day everything just came crashing,
It
right?
did.
And it just brought you to the realization that I can do all of this, but there's a systemic way, that I have to do it. Let's talk a little bit about that system. What does that look like?
Mhm. Well, for me, I really think that my background is in psychology as well as um, computer information systems. And I come from a family where, unfortunately, my mother passed away very young, or in my, before she hit 65, and she died of an illness that is directly related to stress.
Oh, wow.
It's not something that you're like, oh, she could have done this, this, or this, ate better, done better. She was in great health and very similar to kind of what I was experiencing and feeling out of the blue, something took her away. And so what I what I did was I kind of started to think back on what were the things that were right in front of my face with my mom that I didn't see, that were burning her out, that were slowly taking her away from us and the things that she was doing, and what blueprint had she left for me unknowingly. I was also focused on striving for achievement, being the best in your class, being the youngest one, with a 6 and 7 figure business, those types of things. And as I was in a space where I really couldn't do anything, I had to go back, I had to go to physical therapy to learn to walk straight again. I just lost all of my independence and faculty. So I had time to pause, which is the thing that I found is the most critical component for what we're not doing as mothers in this space. And I took my psychology books, dusted them off. I got deep into the research of this. I said, why do we do this as moms? And I started working through things, trying to see what would help me, talking with other people that I knew that were also walking around in this invisible burnout mode, and just starting to pull the pieces together and build a system. And so I came up with a framework that I love because it's a little bit edgy like myself. It flips the script on the word needy. No one wants to be needy. No one wants to be called needy. But in fact, we all are quite needy. And when we don't address our needs, we hurt ourselves. And worse, as mothers, we hurt our children, we hurt our partners, we hurt our community, and we find ourselves in a space of isolation. So the framework that I came up with is called the Needy Mom, and it's an acronym. And so it's really focused around 5 key principles that you need to do before you step into the other spaces and places of your life. So I know with you help startups and founders of all areas of life, and that needy piece, the kind of the five principles, the NEEDY, is really helpful for many people. And of course, I focus it in specifically on how to do those things before the mom piece, taking the pause back and focusing there. So that's the framework that I came up with.
Wow, that is so interesting. Let's talk about this concept of productive stress, and really toxic stress, because we cannot completely avoid stress, right?
Right.
We can use it to our advantage, whether you're a mom, whether you're a founder, like wherever you are, right? There's an amount of stress that you can use to propel yourself.
Right.
And how do you know when the stress is getting toxic, and how do you just separate both?
That is a wonderful question. It is kind of a thought that, stress kills. You hear that, there's t-shirts, there's billboards, and many of us have lived it and we've seen it. And it is a differentiator in reference to the different types of stress. And if I was to kind of like edit that statement, I would say chronic toxic stress kills.
Chronic toxic stress.
Yes. And so, if we didn't have stress, we wouldn't survive in this world. Stress gives us activation. If you walk into, an area that everybody is, kind of like looking in one direction, you don't want to be looking in the other direction and get yourself caught in a problem. So it's heightened alertness, that's a type of stress. being able to um, being able to move through a difficult time because there's some pressure on you that's motivating you to move. Those are stressors, and that's true. You know, as leaders, we are going to be presented with challenges that activate literally in our body stress hormones. The difference, though, is that when you think about kind of like stress in a healthy format, it has a start and it has a stop. So, you know, right now I may be stressed a bit about this decision that I need to make with a VC. And I'm thinking about it, it's weighing on me a bit, but it started at a specific point and it's going to come to a close and then I'm going to move on. Toxic stress, chronic stress is a loop. It just never ends. You carry it, you carry it, you carry it. You never put it down. It may be something you're cognitive of, or it may be something that you're not even aware. And it can come in the form of things that are cultural. It can come in the form of, simple things. You know, if you're not able to clean up all of the little areas in your home, you know, that's a part of our integrated health, you know, our environment. And sometimes those things, we don't think about them, and they're tearing little fabrics of ourselves, invisible stress kind of there. And then there's big chronic stress that you know about it. You know that you have this looming thing that will not go away. And you're like, oh my goodness, I don't even know how to deal with this stress. But I do know that if I don't get closure to it or find some way to have a strong resilience inside, that it's going to burn me out. So that's where I would say there's differences in types of stress.
Wow, I love that. So let me summarize what I'm hearing. So there are three. Well, you just kind of like describe three. I don't know whether that's probably types of stress or categories of stress. Like the first one is just that the environmental stress, like just things around you that you have to do. Sometimes you have the control over it. Sometimes you're probably just too tired to clean up that space. But every time you pass by it, you're just like, it's still there. And that just kind of like, introduces stress to you because it's constantly around you. Then the big things that you have to do, you don't have a clear path forward. You're expecting something. You just have this really big thing and you're like, I need to deal with this, but I just don't have the path forward. And somewhere your subconscious building up, it's really, really, consistently there, and it is building up the stress. And then there are also the obvious ones that you have a clear path to it. You don't know how things are going to turn out, but you know that there's a start and a stop, right? I need to get this check of this VC. I know this VC is going to write the check, but I don't know when they're going to write the check. And that's also, my startup is about to run out of cash. It's there. You kind of like have a way to figure it out, but there's still a lot of uncertainty in it, right? And those three categories sometimes you can have everything happening at the same time, right? And everything is just like, so how do you deal with those things? How, if you could take it in each category, how do you just manage? And then how do you just don't make all three come together at once at the point where you're just completely paralyzed? And believe me, I understand what you're talking about.
I think everyone that's walking about right now understands this, and it's one of those things. It's kind of like a soft skill when you think about it, that often we understand, we can relate to these three different buckets, but we just don't necessarily allow that interrupt pattern. In engineering, there's different things that are open and closed, and there's an interrupt of the energy that flows through, and that's actually kind of like how some products come to life, or they work or they don't work. And in ourselves, we are also machines that are walking around and having these circuits that are flowing in our own bodies, and our bodies do take score, whether or not we are physically and mentally aware of it. Our bodies are definitely keeping the score. And so when you think about those three buckets, and the interesting thing is, 2 out of those 3 buckets, as you kind of place them in those categories, 2 of them are more on that chronic background stress. And so it's kind of weighted against us if we're not being very, very intentional about how this is showing up in our day-to-day lives. And for moms specifically that are, in the boardrooms, that are on that startup journey, or even they're solopreneurs, um, the kind of invisible labor of motherhood is so profound. There's always things to do. There's always things that you are mentally managing. And so for me, what I have learned to do and to really start to kind of activate that interrupt is to check in on myself very frequently. And I know I tell people that and they say, oh, okay, that's like super woo-woo. I don't have time to be checking in on myself every day.
Yeah.
And then I challenge them to do it. And I haven't had I haven't had anybody come back and be like, that was not worth it, and it's very simple things. You can throughout the day. One example that I have that I've shared with pretty widely is I have throughout the day. One of the big things that I used to not do was eat. So I would go, and I'd look up. I'd be like, did I eat anything today?
Yeah.
So I have fed everybody in my family. I have been to all these meetings, and I think I might have had some tea. I'm a tea drinker, so I probably had some tea, but that's it. And that is not sustainable. And those are the types of things that we do when we're on autopilot, when we're so focused in the performative aspects of our lives and what we have to get done, what we have to get off the list, all the things that have to happen, that we never pause to just check in with ourselves. And it's really powerful. I always say there's power in the pause. So something as simple as, there's kind of like this trifecta, the nurture trifecta check, that it's just three things. You check in and you say, what do I need right now? What does my body need right now? And this takes literally seconds to sit here and think about, have I stood up in the past hour or so? Maybe I should eat if I haven't, even if I need to just pause for a minute and go do that. You can think specifically around just something that you could do right now that takes 2 minutes, but you interrupted this zombied out kind of autopilot and allow yourself to check in. And that's very simple. You could do it mind, body, and spirit. What do I need, emotionally right now? Am I actually being performative, or am I connected to something real right now? What are my thoughts right now? Am I spiraling? Is this time worth it right now, or should I take a look at my thoughts? Simple, but very valuable, and it allows you to catch the fact that you're in a stress pattern. And it's not to immediately go fix that, but it just, there's power in actually realizing and bubbling it up to the surface so that it can be addressed. But if we just keep going, we do burn out.
Wow. As we're just speaking now, I remember the LinkedIn Live that we had yesterday was about business as a baby, right? Like, so I guess was talking about how your business should be viewed as a baby. And, you obviously, you're coming back to that point and using mom, because again, we do a lot of work with like moms and helping them manage stress as startup founders, as executives, and all of that stuff. And, in my head, I'm just kind of like connecting the pieces. One of the reasons why mothers find it so difficult to detach is like, I can go hungry, but I really cannot watch my kids go hungry. So no matter, even if it's like 11 p.m. and my daughter comes in and is like, Mommy, I'm hungry, no matter how tired I am, I get off from that bed and I go make her something, right? But if I'm the one who is hungry, I'm just going to be like, whatever, till tomorrow. I'm just going to like, just whatever. And the big point here that I'm seeing is, whether you're in the startup world, whether you're a boardroom executive, whatever, the same way mothers feel about their kids, and they really find it so hard to detach, is exactly the same way we feel about our babies or our companies, our jobs, spending times. And it's so difficult for us to detach. And now you're talking about some tips. I really love some of the things that you talked about. One is like just that prompt on your phone that says, "Hey, you've been sitting down for 1 hour. Just get up." Like
Yep. Mhm.
nothing is going to break in that 1 hour. You know, 5 minutes that you just kind of like get up, maybe
Yeah.
before anything, just take a walk and come back to it, right? Like
Yes,
just something
exactly.
as simple as that. You know, you've been in meetings all day. You just just turn it off. 20
Yes.
minutes. Go make yourself a nice meal and come back. Not just some
Yeah.
scrappy things that you pull out of the fridge, which you do a lot, you know, but just take those
Right.
little
Yeah.
minutes and know that, you know, somebody said recently, like if you have a newborn baby and the baby is crying, 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 you know, sometimes you just let the baby cry for 2 minutes and you just go sit in the shower and just 2 minutes is for me.
Right. And it's really interesting that you said, from specifically from the talk before, that we do treat our businesses as our babies. And
Yeah,
I love that you brought through the example of how it could be 11 o'clock,
yeah,
and if your child needs you, you're going to stop what you're doing and you're
yeah.
going to address that. I literally last night, my son was, he wasn't feeling well, and he is a teenager. He's about to take me in height, legit. And all of a sudden, I'm working on some different things, getting excited about the fact that, where I'm coming to speak with you guys in Houston in a few weeks. And I was laser focused, and he's like popping out after he's really been asleep. And he's like, I don't feel good. And I'm like, oh. And I was like, let me stop and let's go see what's going on. Let's make some tea. What do you need? What do you need?
Yeah.
And imagine if we were to do that,
Mm.
what we do for our children, if we
Children.
have them, or our puppies, or
Mhm,
our business babies,
mhm.
if we were to give that same attention to ourselves. Like, how powerful would that be? And you said 20 minutes to go do, make yourself a meal. Wonderful. But if you don't even have 20 minutes, 5 minutes will change your life. If you just interrupt this autopilot, put yourself back in the control seat,
Mm,
and think about things that are more on the foundational piece. I know a lot of women that I work with, they are focused on their branding.
mm,
They're like, I got to learn this marketing stuff, or they're trying to learn social media, or they're focusing on, how do I get more clients? Which, of course, we all, want to know how to do that. And they learn this, and they go to coaches, and I love coaches. I'm a coach. I think it's great. But at the same time, if you are walking around disconnected from yourself, disconnected from your purpose, disconnected from your personal needs, which is why I use the word needy mom, then you're going to fail to launch. You're
mm,
going to learn all the things, learn all the things, learn all the things, but you won't have the foundational pieces, these woo woo aspects that
mm,
say, things like breath work and meditation, interrupting your just kind of like the patterns of the world that's pressing on us, emotional regulation, nervous system regulation. These are
mm.
things they're now teaching us in MBA school,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm, mhm.
And there are not a lot of people out here that are really giving us the kind of this permission slip
Mm,
to say, yeah, I need to get my foundation,
mm.
and that's going to be me. And then watch how I pop off. Like I say that, like watch
Mhm.
how you pop off once you get these simple things. And then for me, with what I have started, my company has been the Twig,
Mm,
and the purpose of Bend the Twig is to reach into the space currently of what modern day motherhood looks like.
mm,
Stop mom burnout
mhm.
so that the generations coming behind us will not have that as a blueprint anymore.
Or yeah. Mhm.
I shared with you at the beginning, my mother left this earth so early.
Yeah.
And she passed away of something that the doctors just purely say it was stress.
Mm,
I ended up in the back of an ambulance in an ER, unable to do anything for myself when
Mm,
everyone would be like, they wanted my life.
mm, mm,
So we need to take a real serious look at what chronic toxic stress does,
mm,
put in systems that are sustainable, realistic,
mhm,
that we can activate quickly every day. And
mm.
there are science-based things that we can do.
Yeah.
And then that's how we take what was a bad stress,
Mhm,
we stop it, we interrupt that type of stress, and we can turn it into a fuel that allows us to really reach our fullest potential. Because those types of stress, as they try to creep in, when we're paying attention,
mm,
we get the victory over that, and we do a thing, a small behavior that actually is the thing that enables us to do all the other training that we've had, all the other things that we need.
mm,
This foundation is in focusing on yourself, your
mm,
needs,
mm.
and coming up with a system of self-care that is the foundation for everything else.
I can't wait for us to talk more about this during the summit today. As you're just talking, I'm just going through my life. I'm just like, you know what, what are those things that I'm just allowing to seep in, just gradually, and then suddenly from nowhere I just feel this fatigue, right? I'm just so tired. I'm like, what did I do today? But then back to what you're saying, I've probably seen, something that I'm thinking, oh, I've still not gotten to that, and it's
Yeah,
subconsciously slipped in. I'm getting this call, we have this, we have that, and everything kind of like just soaking in, and I'm not taking a moment to just think, well,
yeah,
just everything will be okay. Just take these 5 minutes for yourself.
yes,
That stuff, and we talk about like systems, frameworks. I'm sure that we can unpack a lot of more of that lately. Sorry, at the event and stuff.
yes.
Can
Mhm.
can you give us two tips as we round up? Just two things that you would like to leave with our audience today.
Yeah, so two tips. I think of things that I activate a lot. So I'll kind of give three because I want to go back and just remind about the one that I mentioned, and that is that check-in, right?
Hmm.
If you don't already do it, it's really simple. Put a reminder in your phone. We all have all these different little connected devices, right? So figure
Yes.
out whichever one is best. And maybe just two times within your typical workday, um, put it on the calendar or let it even just be a pop-up that you are going to do a check-in.
Hmm.
So I know with engineering teams, we do stand-ups, right, in the morning. And so think of it as like a personal stand-up that is just a quick check. It's not even really a 5-minute check. It's like a 2-minute check.
Hmm.
And stop and ask yourself, how am I doing physically? Do I need to get up and move? Do I need to eat? Do I need to do something? Probably might need some water because we all need water. Um,
Yeah, we do.
how is my emotional state right now? Am I investing so much into this and it's causing me to doubt myself? Am I feeling like I'm in a spiral right now?
Hmm.
Let me allow myself to come back to center. And then again, from a deeper, more soulful spiritual space, am I just performing or am I actually connecting to my purpose and what my work is here? And I think those are three kind of quick check-ins to do throughout the day.
I love that.
Um, Additionally, I am a huge believer in what we call white space.
Hmm.
And so having time on your calendar that you are intentionally doing absolutely nothing. And I know that sounds crazy. I
Yes.
know it. I knew you were gonna laugh because everybody's like, "Where on my calendar am I gonna have that?"
Yeah.
And it's again, if you don't protect your peace, no one else is going to do it.
Yeah.
So if you put 30 minutes on a calendar and it's like nothing, don't do nothing, nada.
Mm,
Stare at the wall, look up at the ceiling. Let that be the extent of what you do. And it's kind of a different type of meditation or mindfulness. A lot of people don't necessarily feel comfortable getting into, like, let's close our eyes and let's go through a guided meditation. I love it. Not everyone does, but
Yeah.
30 minutes of just, I am allowing myself to be
To-
in timeout and do that.
Mm.
Oh, and another thing that comes to mind, I know we're at time, but I had I coached a young lady who um she had a lot of different things that she was just really active in. And she
Mm.
also had a newborn.
Mm.
And she was feeling like, I'm trying to remember her exact words, but she was borderline depression. She's
Mm.
just, the burnout is really, kind of like a symptom. It's the culmination of a bunch of things that are happening up underneath us.
Mm.
And she was she was there. And I asked her to do this one thing because she got a newborn baby, she had a toddler, she had a lot going on. And I said, you can give 5 minutes a day.
Mm.
I want you to just start 5 minutes a day. And for 5 minutes, I want you to get up. I want you to go to your mirror and I want you to just smile at yourself. I want you to laugh. I want you to think about all the things that are funny and hilarious, even if they happened 10 years ago and you have not had a laugh since. Like, just go and give yourself 5 minutes of looking at you and learning to love you and like you. And I know this sounds so woo-woo, right? Some of this stuff just doesn't seem like it's making sense. I am literally an engineer. I work in zeros and ones,
So,
but it's real. It's real.
yeah.
The data is there. And when we came back to talk, her whole tone was different. And it
Oh.
was only a couple of weeks.
Mm.
Her whole tone was different. And she told me that she had gone from looking past the mirror, not even trying to look at herself. She didn't want to see herself. She just had this baby. It was all this, it was all that, to looking forward to that time. And
Mm.
her whole spirit had adjusted. Her life didn't change. She still had struggles and she still had challenges that were real. She still had things that were those kind of, like we talked about, stop and start stress.
Mm-hmm.
But she was building resilience in a
Mm.
in a way that literally took her 5 minutes a day.
Wow.
So
Wow.
we have a lot of power.
Wow.
And that's what I've learned in my journey, is that we have a lot of power
Mm.
and
Mm.
we need to activate it. We need to take the seriousness of our needs and
Mm.
put them in the front. And that is what will allow us to do more for everybody else, including ourselves and our community.
I have like 50 other questions I want to ask you right now. Like, it's just as I say, but I'm going to take just one.
Yes.
When we look at that white space,
Mhm.
does it include scrolling through our social media?
Now, Lola, you know that is not white space. So, if for you, I would say go get in a closet and lock the door. Just whatever it is in that white space period of time. It's really hard at first. I'm not
Mm.
going to sit here and tell you that at our level of high achievement, and I mean, we're on boards. We're doing the things. We have our kids. We're contributing. We're doing a lot.
Mhm.
And again, I have to take you right back. You gave the example today.
Mm.
If your daughter comes to you at 11 o'clock at night, you
Yeah.
don't think about it. You don't sit here and deliberate about,
Mm.
hmm, is this valuable for me or not?
You just jump.
Hmm,
Mm.
what's going to be my return on this investment of feeding my child? Like, you don't do that.
That's
you
true.
you just do it because you know that that is important. You know there's a need there, which means be back to this whole concept of being needy.
Mm.
Like, I'm a needy mother founder. That's what I
Mm.
say.
Mm.
And I know that putting my needs first has been the game changer for me. And That looks a lot of different ways for all the women that I work with. It's
Mm,
very personalized. I love being able to take moms through this process and to see the difference that it makes because
mm.
it really is a ripple effect in every area of our life. So try it.
Yeah,
30 minutes. You don't have to do it every day.
I'm
Just
going
start
to
with
try
just one this week.
it.
And when
I'm
I get there for the 17th, I want you to tell me how that went.
I'm going to do it. I promise. I'm making a commitment, and I need to post it on on LinkedIn. The moment I do it, I'm going to have to get all my devices out. I'm going to have to shut down everything, and I'm just going to spend 30 minutes staring at white space, like
Yes.
literally a whiteboard. Literally that, and I'm going to
If
really talk about
if
how
you
that
need
went.
if you need to go outside and look up at the clouds and let the clouds turn into dinosaurs and dragons, do that as a bridge, but just really disconnect from anything that you think you should be doing. Get rid of the shoulds and give yourself the gift.
Okay, now I'm taking that as my homework.
Yes.
And I'm going to do that. I'm going to report back. I'm going to report back publicly, and I'm also going to report back to you.
Yes. I love it.
See, yeah. Wow, this is so good. Thank you. Do you want to just, talk about how people can reach you, anyone, especially mothers and women that you work with? How can they reach you if they really want to dig deeper into this?
Yeah. So, I love people. I'm here for that. In a mentorship way. I obviously do coaching. We're going to be launching a wonderful membership that is going to be available in, well, people can start signing up this month, but it's going to be available in June. So I'm excited to bring that to
Wow.
life.
Mm,
Um, and right now, I guess, the best way you can always reach out to me right here on LinkedIn. I have a call link within LinkedIn. So book a
mm,
call. Let's sit down, talk. We can spend 20 minutes and come up with one or two specific things that you need. My thing is walk away with something that you can use,
yes.
whether I'm the person that you work with or not. I'm on a mission to stop mom burnout,
Yeah,
and that's where my focus is. So
I love that.
join us in that.
I love that. And I think one of the most beautiful things is like you make it so actionable. It's not like, oh, go and do these 50 things. Now you give me just one thing.
Mhm.
Just that one thing. The other example of the lady as well that you mentioned, just 5 minutes in front of the mirror. It's so simple.
Mhm.
It's like you make it so like, I mean, if you don't do it, then because simple thing. Just I'm not asking you for the
Yeah.
world, just do this one simple thing and do it consistently. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really had a great time and I've learned a lot. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Lola. Again, just take care. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself first, and everything else will follow.
Thank you. All right. Bye, everyone.